Buckle up, guys. Today we're going to dissect the opening where routine audit becomes a power play. The auditor states his purpose clearly, but worker instantly slaps the label sensitive on the site and threatens police. That single word reshapes perception. Discomfort dressed as authority. Watch how manufactured fear aims to silence lawful activity. The clip teaches how quick misinformation can warp an encounter and set the tone for escalation. Keep this clip as a blueprint for asserting public rights.
Legal rights.
I'm doing the filming.
I don't care if you're doing the filming. I've asked you not to film this building.
Yeah, but it was a little building.
I don't care.
It was a little...
Okay, they're on their way to see you now, right?
What about my drone?
I don't care about your drone.
Yeah, but I've come
no
along...
permission
Yeah, but I've come...
to film this building.
I've come a long way on my bike.
I don't care.
I go round, I take like videos and drone footage, and then I put them on the World Wide Web.
Yeah, but you've had no permission to come onto this site, and you were filming on this site without permission.
No, I only come on the site to knock on the door, but I think you came out, didn't you?
But you've been videoing on this site without permission.
No,
right?
I came through.
I've watched you.
No, but I came through.
I've watched you.
But there was no barrier down. If there was a barrier down, I wouldn't have come in.
A barrier tells you it's a secure private premises, yeah?
But it wasn't. It's not secure.
This scene is escalation in miniature. An employee demands identity and weaponizes the police as a crowd control threat. The auditor's calm reply punctures a bluff, revealing intimidation as the tactic, not law. It's a masterclass in how aggressive posture substitutes for legal argument. Knowing your rights turns bark into air. Notice how composure deflates coercion and forces a question. Who actually holds authority here? Use this moment to learn how clear speech dismantles bluff.
Getting into it because the police, they just said they see you through the window and they're coming over to see you.
Yeah, but I'm only doing a little video.
I'm not interested, mate.
What's your name, sorry?
I didn't give my name.
What's your name?
I don't need to give you my name, do I?
Well, at the moment, we've been called. I don't know if you know anything about Concordia, but having had a chat to the manager here, it's quite a secure building, all right?
Yeah.
You're not allowed on there. That's come from him.
Yeah.
Okay. And he's politely asked you to move on and obviously stop recording because of the nature of the supplies and the goods within the site.
Here the bluff reaches peak theater. An armed response is dangled like a sword. The absurdity is the point. Invoking extreme force creates compliance through fear, regardless of legality. The auditor's laughter undercuts the gambit and exposes it as performative. This clip shows how claim without consequence collapses, why public legal literacy is essential, and how small acts of defiance can puncture grandiose threats before they gain traction. Remember this exchange when you face inflated threats. Clip 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know what the company is because I got it off the internet.
There we go. So in this situation, the best thing we can do is just ask you to move on. All right. Not record. Obviously from here, they're asking you not to do it. Right. At the moment, he's saying that in the building and the business itself, they do obviously supply quite high secure goods across the world on flights. And at the moment, it's just not appropriate. And obviously, that's where we are with it. Okay. Now, in terms of what we're going to do as police, is we're going to do the same. We're just going to ask you to politely move on, just to obviously prevent any breach of the peace. Just to move on, go on your push bike, and go and film a different place that is going to allow you to do that.
Watch the pivot. Staff flip from company policy to claiming police policy, hoping authority will carry weight. The auditor counters with GDPR and a calm insistence on facts, puncturing the veneer. This exchange demonstrates the power of accurate knowledge. Legal literacy turns hollowness into liability. It's a sharp reminder. Confidence backed by law beats bluster every time, and facts are the quickest way to dismantle manufactured power. Save it as a practical example of facts overcoming bluster. Okay,
and then it's just going to be end of sport. We will leave you to it. Okay, ultimately what we could potentially be facing is that if you're going to refuse to do that and allow for this business to move on with their day, we could be looking at other things then, couldn't we? Because what's happening here is this company now have had to send out managers and staff to obviously come and deal with yourself, and they're just kindly asking you, can you please stop filming?
But I'm doing photography in a public place. I'm allowed.
What they're saying is,
I'm allowed.
You by all means,
I'm allowed.
go the other side of the road.
That's what I said I was going to do. I said I'm going to be over there.
Yeah.
Over there on
But
that footpath.
you've asked to use their toilet. You're not allowed to do that.
No, I'm not going to.
You've asked to go in and have a tour. You're not allowed to do it, okay? There are rules in life that you have to follow.
No,
right?
I said to him,
for you to ask where the toilet is, if I can use the toilet, can I come in and have a tour? It's a no.
The arrival of a single uniformed officer is an anticlimax that tells a larger story. Fear amplifies until reality arrives. No armed units, no counterterrorism team, just a routine officer. This deflation reveals how drama can escalate resources unnecessarily and exposes the earlier threats as hollow. That small, grounded presence reframes the encounter and highlights how panic and rumor can distort policing priorities. Let this be a reminder that reality often deflates fear.
All right.
No, I know he said no. That's no problem.
Get into it.
I'm not going to. I just asked him. I said, look, any chance I can use your toilet? He said, you must be joking. I said, fine.
Yeah.
I said, as I'm here, you know, would you like to give me a guided tour? I've got high views. He said, no.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that.
Right.
But I just want to go on a public footpath and do my video and a little bit of drone footage.
He's not going to. He's not going to allow for the drone footage.
He doesn't own the airspace, officer.
But the problem is that as the manager, he's being quite respectful and polite to you, isn't he? And he's just saying, please sir, can you not do this, all right? Obviously, he knows a lot more than me and you about this company, all right? And he's saying that in the building itself, it's obviously quite a high secure place where they provide goods and materials to put on flights to travel, right?
This segment reveals policing by persuasion. The officer leans on hostile recon language and social pressure instead of legal clarity. The auditor is forced to defend lawful activity, while the state's representative parrots subjective discomfort. That inversion is dangerous. Rights become negotiable feelings. This clip highlights systemic ignorance. Without clear policing standards, lawful acts are chilled and public trust erodes. File this one under why officers should cite law, not feelings.
I'm allowed to photograph in a public area.
I'm not saying you're not allowed to photograph.
I'm allowed.
Go over there then.
That's what I said I'd do.
Make yourself sparse, obviously take photos and stuff.
Yeah.
But please don't go putting a drone up. We've got our headquarters there. That's our police headquarters. I don't know if you're aware of that.
No.
Right? That's our police headquarters there for Gwent Police.
But I'm not doing Gwent Police. I'm doing...
But obviously, as you can see, there's only a matter of metres between these buildings, okay? So Concordia, they're obviously quite a high secure building. We've got our premises there as Gwent Police.
But I'm allowed to do my drone footage. I'm allowed to do my drone footage.
The climax. The officer demands name and DOB under dubious grounds. The auditor asks a decisive question. Am I detained? That legal pivot strips power from threat and forces retreat. Calm, informed pushback neutralizes overreach without violence. This is a practical lesson. Knowledge, composure, and precise questions diffuse coercion and expose misuse of authority. Proving de-escalation is often legal literacy in action. Share this moment as a template for calm legal pushback.
CAA they have different zones in the UK. They have like red zones and
I'm not
amber
a drone
zones.
officer, but I can certainly check with a drone officer if that's where we're going to get to.
Yeah.
However, I feel that that's a little bit unnecessary for now. All right, and I think that what the best option here is just for you to obviously move on as you've been asked by a couple of people now. All right, just move on, get on with your day. And
this is my day. I'm allowed. I'm not being...
Like I said, just go across the way then, and obviously.
Yeah, I was going to go across
across the way there. There's many other buildings on industrial estates that you can use.
Yeah,
and you can photograph.
I will do them, but I was here, and what you're telling me is that because he don't like it,
it's not a case of him not liking it. He's the manager, isn't he? And what he's saying is that because of the nature of the materials and the goods that are inside of this building,
but it's not unlawful to do photography. It's from a public place.
It's not. Again, with that company, the company are asking you not to do it. Let's not be awkward.
No.
Let's not make things difficult because otherwise they're going to end up difficult. Okay.
Why?
But because of obviously the sort of attitude that you're giving.
I'm not. All I'm doing is exercising my rights to film in a public area.
But like I've just said, the company are saying to you, you're not allowed to do it. Please don't do it because our business has things in there that we don't want publicised across the internet and stuff.
Now, the officer's mask completely slips as she issues what sounds like a thinly veiled threat, telling the auditor, "Let's not make things difficult, or they're going to end up difficult." When the auditor rightfully asks why, she responds, "Because of the attitude you're giving." But let's break this down. What attitude? The auditor has remained calm, reasonable, and simply defended his rights. He hasn't been aggressive, hasn't obstructed anyone, and hasn't committed a crime. The only attitude here is him refusing to back down when the officer keeps pushing an unlawful agenda. At this point, her policing is beyond bad. It's blatantly biased. Rather than telling the business that public filming is legal and no law is being broken, she is escalating the situation, making unnecessary threats, and punishing the auditor for standing his ground.
Do
you understand what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying, but I'm also exercising my rights, okay, lawful rights, as a citizen in England and Wales. I'm allowed to take photography in a public place unless...
Photography is different to drone though.
No, that's my first point. My second point is I'm allowed to put a drone up over any place unless it's in a flight restriction zone. And I've got a CAA app that tells me I'm allowed. And you're telling me I'm not. Now that's not lawful.
This moment highlights the stark contrast between the two. The auditor is relying on facts and legal sources, while the officer is making baseless claims to discourage him. Instead of acknowledging that she has no authority to ban drone flights in unrestricted airspace, she continues to wrongfully assert control, despite having nothing to support her stance. Under UK drone laws, pilots can legally fly in any unrestricted airspace, provided they comply with CAA regulations. The CAA app provides official, real-time airspace data, meaning if it shows the area as unrestricted, then the officer has no legal ground to say otherwise. By telling the auditor he cannot fly here despite the CAA confirming he can, the officer is essentially attempting to override aviation law with personal opinion.
If you stop me, if you prevent me from doing that...
You're completely confusing what I've said. What I've said to you is that business are asking you not to. Alright, they don't want you doing it. So can you not just respect that and be, respectful towards everybody involved here, and just please just take your photographs, but they just don't want to drone up, okay?
But I am being respectful. I mean, I'm not getting into an argument or any conflict with you guys, but I am allowed to put a drone up, and you're saying, well, be respectful to them and don't put one up. But I'm allowed, and it's my right. It's my right to put a drone up in a public area.
The officer is no longer even pretending to enforce the law. Instead, she is policing based on emotion, implying that the auditor is disrespectful simply for exercising a right that makes the business uncomfortable. This kind of policing is dangerous because it suggests that laws only apply when they don't upset people. If the officer were being impartial, she would be educating the business about public rights rather than pressuring the auditor into compliance. By framing the situation this way, she is implying that the auditor is in the wrong for simply not doing what the business wants, even though he has broken no law.
It is. If you tell me, if you tell me if you're going to arrest me if I do it, then what I'll do, I won't do it, but I'll go to my lawyer because I'm allowed, and I know my rights, and the rights are that you're allowed. The law says that you're allowed to take photography, including drone footage, in a public place.
Okay, what's your surname, please?
What?
What's your surname, please?
I'm not giving my name.
You're going to refuse to give details now, are you?
Well, unless you threaten me with some sort of arrest.
I'm a police officer, sir. I don't threaten anyone.
Oh, right, okay.
I don't threaten.
So you're not going to threaten me with arrest if I don't give you...
Certainly not a threaten.
Okay.
I can use laws and powers, but it's certainly not a threat.
But I've not done nothing wrong.
Ultimately, what's happened here is that the police have been called, right? And I'm now having to deal with you as a person. Therefore, I'm asking for your name and date of birth.
This is a clear abuse of police powers, as there is no law requiring someone to give their details simply because they are being spoken to by an officer. In the UK, an officer can only legally require someone to provide their name under specific circumstances. This includes being lawfully detained under suspicion of a crime, Pace 1984, being issued a fixed penalty notice, or if the officer reasonably believes the individual has engaged in antisocial behaviour, Section 50 of the Police Reform Act 2002. None of these apply here. the auditor is not committing a crime, not receiving a penalty, and is not engaging in antisocial behavior. By making this demand, the officer is deliberately misleading the auditor, using intimidation tactics to pressure him into providing personal information he is not legally required to give. If the request was lawful, she would be citing legislation, but instead, she relies on vague reasoning that has no legal standing.
Why?
Because you've been involved in a call that I'm actually dealing with.
Yeah, but I don't have to give it. What? I mean, I don't understand why.
So then, if you're not going to give details, then I would strongly advise for you to just move on. Because at the moment, you've got 3 units here that are obviously dealing with you. I don't know who you are.
Yeah, I know,
right?
but
I
I'm
need
just
to know who you are.
No, I'm a member of the public.
Yes, I appreciate that.
And I'm doing a lawful act. I'm doing photography and droning.
So why are you not, at the moment, you could be missing. You could even be wanted. Right? And ultimately, as a police officer, we have the right to take you to custody to identify who you are if you do refuse to give details.
Being possibly missing or possibly wanted is not a lawful reason to demand ID or take someone into custody. In the UK, police cannot detain someone just to confirm their identity unless they have reasonable suspicion of a crime or a legal obligation exists to provide details. The officer is knowingly misleading the auditor, making up powers she does not have to pressure him into compliance. It's an abuse of authority. If officers could detain anyone under the excuse that they might be missing or wanted, anyone could be taken into custody for no reason at all. The fact that she resorts to false threats instead of citing an actual law proves she is grasping at straws to force the auditor to comply.
You've been involved in a call, all right?
No, but
you've been involved in something that the police have been called for. So as a police officer, I'm requesting your name and your date of birth.
Yeah, but under what section? I don't understand. Under what section are you asking for my name and date of birth? Because I'm legally, and I don't want to go into civil law, into unlawful arrest and unlawful detention here, but if we go down that path, you know, we don't want to. I don't want to go unlawful detention, unlawful arrest, unlawful giving of my details, because that all goes.
It's not an unlawful giving of details by any stretch.
Okay, well, if you felt that I've committed a crime, then you know, or there's a section under PACE, and I know PACE very, very well.
The auditor, clearly aware something isn't right, pushes back and demands the legal basis for her request. This is where her argument completely collapses. If there were a legitimate law requiring ID, she would have cited it immediately, but she doesn't, because no such law applies here. Her refusal to provide a legal justification exposes her misuse of authority and proves she is relying on intimidation rather than actual policing. This is why questioning officers is so important. Had the auditor complied without challenging her, this abuse of power would have gone unchecked. But with just one question, he has completely unravelled her false claim, leaving her with nothing to stand on.
If you want to try and determine my name and address, I'd like to know.
I think you're just being extremely difficult and challenging, and probably quite awkward at the moment.
I'm exercising my rights.
It's just a little bit awkward when a person is obviously not just cooperating, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. I'm just trying to do my job.
I know you are, but
we've been called because you're obviously causing some.
I was going over there.
But you're not, sir. I found you just here on the pavement,
in a public road.
This is a classic attempt to assert control where none is justified. Public spaces are exactly that, public, and unless someone is obstructing access or engaging in disorderly behaviour, there is no lawful reason to tell them to move. Instead of recognising this, the officer treats the auditor's location as if it's suspicious or inappropriate, despite it being completely lawful. The issue here isn't public safety or law enforcement, it's the officer attempting to push someone away simply because they don't want them there. A police officer's role is to uphold the law objectively, not enforce the preferences of a private business. The fact that she is focused on where he's standing rather than whether any offence has actually occurred shows just how misguided her approach to this situation has been.
Right, you're up against the barrier.
Well, I'll happily go over there and do my drone.
Go over there then. When you're refusing to give something as simple as a name to a police officer, obviously it comes across as quite awkward, and that's probably my personal opinion of it. And it's just sometimes it can make it a lot more difficult than it needs to be. In there they do high security goods, and that's why they're saying as a business, please don't do it. But as a police officer, obviously you don't want to go down. We don't want to be causing any further issues for you. Okay, so just please respect what's been said. All right.
Thanks, officer.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
As the interaction comes to an end, the auditor has now moved across the road, not because he was legally required to, but because the officer's relentless pressure and baseless demands made it clear she wasn't going to back down. This entire situation has been a shameful display of poor policing, where the officer has prioritized the feelings of a private business over upholding the law. From the very start, she misrepresented her authority, falsely claiming she had the right to demand ID, attempting to intimidate the auditor with empty threats of taking him into custody, and failing to provide any legal justification for her actions. Instead of citing actual legislation, she relied on vague statements and emotional appeals, making it seem as though the auditor was the problem when, in reality, she was the one overstepping her powers. Her insistence that the auditor leave a public space, her attempts to control drone usage despite having no authority over airspace, and her clear bias toward the business all expose a deeper issue. This officer was never interested in enforcing the law, only enforcing compliance. Even when her claims were challenged, she refused to admit fault, instead choosing to double down on misinformation and pressure the auditor into leaving. This entire encounter could have been avoided if the officer had simply done her job correctly, educating the business on public photography laws and leaving the scene when no offense was found. Instead, she turned a non-issue into a confrontation, wasting time, resources, and completely undermining public trust in fair policing. At the end of the day, the auditor was right to stand his ground, and the officer's failures have been fully exposed. That's it for today's video. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me continue with my independent coverage. Also, don't forget to check out Pure Audit. His channel is linked in the description. Show him some love. Thanks for watching. This was Rate the Audit, and I'll see you in the next one.